Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the April 19th, 2017 meeting of the Frederick County Planning Commission. And would you be kind enough to join us in a moment of silence, please? Thank you. We have two sets of minutes, March 1st and March 15th.
Madam Chair, I move for adoption of March 1st, March 15th minutes.
Second. Madam Chairman, I have one correction on the March 15th minutes.
Okay, would you let us know what it is?
They have me voting yes and no, both on there, on those March 15th minutes. Although I'm pretty tricky, I'm not quite that good yet, but
Okay, well, thank
I think
you.
I had a no vote, and they had me down for a yes and a no vote.
You made up your mind now.
It's a pretty good
For the
deal.
record, I voted no.
Thank you. Thank
I'll
you.
amend my motion for the correction.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Time for committee reports. I believe that Sanitation Authority, Mr. Unger, is going to report for us.
Yes, ma'am. We met last night, yesterday evening. Frederick County Sanitation Department had a public hearing yesterday for revision of availability fees. And what they've come up with, they've redone the availability fees. I think they're doing it for like a 5-year time frame, and they're going to review it every 5 years. The new connection fees for homes will be $17,191, and that's actually a decrease of $283 from what they're paying now. And some of the larger meters, and we didn't go into detail on that, but some of those have gone up somewhat. But what they're trying to do is get them everything in line with, what people should be paying for water and stuff. Some of the other things we had a total water base for Frederick County of 15,151 people, or customers, 14,659 customers for sanitation department, or the sanitary sewer. Rainfall for the last month was 2.75 inches, which was up from the month before, but it's still down from average. Month before, we had almost 0.9 tenths, which was very low. The Deal plant, we're still pulling about 1.5 million. That's 1.4 million gallon per day. Anderson plant, we're pulling about a little over 1.5 million per day. We purchased 1.7 million a gallon a day from the city. Daily average is 4.7 million gallon per day. And that's actually down a good bit from what we do, later on in the summertime, because it'll get close to 6.5 million gallon per day in the summer. Steel plant is staying about the same. I think it actually come up about a foot. The Anderson plant is very close to the same as it was last month, within a foot. I think everything else is real good. They had non-water usages, which water that gets by and leaks and stuff, is still up about 9.5%, but that's actually down about 1% from last month. So they fixed some things, that's leaking. And that's all we have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My calculations is we have no more committee reports from the commission, but from the city. Mr. Tagnesi?
Hi, we had our meeting yesterday. We only had two CUPs. One was to convert a property on the Valley Avenue to mixed use, which took about 5 minutes. Second was the request to put a pizza place parlor on Loudon Street, which took about 2 hours.
Understand.
But that was it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Mr. Dunn for the Board of Supervisors.
We had a few more than the city of Winchester. So there were 4 public hearings. Permit number 0117 for the Bauman Library, in which Chantel has asked for a communications tower, was postponed for 30 days. So Chantel will come back to the Board of Supervisors in 30 days and make a proposal. So that's been put on to hold. The second item was a conditional use permit 1016 for Will Colby to develop a furniture repair shop. That passed. The third item, permit CUP 217 for Salvatore Carano to have an Airbnb, was defeated and rejected. fourth item, 117, for a proper rezoning for a fast food restaurant near 522 across from where the Costco's is, was passed. So those were the items that the board passed. If you have any questions, Madam Chairman, I'll be glad to answer them.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the report. This is the spot in our agenda. If you'd like to discuss something with us that is not on our agenda, we'd be delighted to hear from you. Seeing none, we'll close the citizen comment portion. Our first item is a public hearing item. It's conditional use permit 05-17 for Virginia Preferred Properties for an indoor commercial recreation private gym facility. The property is located at 351 Victory Road, Winchester, and is identified with property identification number 64-A-80D in the Shawnee Magisterial District. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Just a little preamble maybe before we go on with these two applications before you. If you recall, the Board of Supervisors, through our DRS committee, obviously reviewed here by the Planning Commission, allowed an indoor recreational commercial uses in our M1 zoning districts. These are the first two applications that staff has received for them. So just so most of your planning commissioners know, not to be surprised, that we've got a different use through a CUP in our M1 zoning district. And basically, just a real quick, the key concerns that we had looked at and, and what's in the zoning ordinance now was addressing parking areas, adequate drop-off, and all the uses should be operated indoors. And that's kind of was the main parameters we have for this. And with that, Madam Chair, this application before you is for an indoor commercial recreational use in our M1 zoning district. As you pointed out, it's on the Victory Road. It is for a private gym. The properties adjacent to it are all zoned M1 and RA. And they are manufacturing, their uses manufacturing, warehouse, residential, and warehousing. If I can turn your attention to your map on the left, this is, of course, our zoning map. You see there's if you're familiar with the Westview Business Park, I'm just going to throw it out there. There's that one house that still sits out there. It's still RA. So that's why you have a piece of RA in the middle of the industrial park. It's surrounded by M1. This aerial photograph of the proposed use and where the property is going to be located off Victory Road. This is just a pictometry to kind of show you where the warehouse is. And what I'm going to go through if I can, Madam Chair, go through the staff report real quick and show you the area that's going to be used for this proposed recreational use. Again, the Frederick County zoning ordinance does allow the commercial indoor rec facilities within our M1 zoning district. This proposed gym will occupy a 4,000 square foot within a 15,000 square foot warehouse, so it's only having part of it. The gym, though, will be a 24 operational gym, so it'll be, like I say, with members, and I'm going to let the applicant explain that a little more to you if you have any questions. Prior to the operation of the gym, however, the applicant will need to have a site plan submitted and approved by Frederick County. As you're showing on the pictometry when I come back, before we go through the conditions, this was an unimproved site. To meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance now for allow the CUP is adequate parking, and we've talked to the applicant about addressing that. And again, I will show you we're a part of this warehouse where this permit will cover. All plan improvements shall be implemented prior to operating the business. These improvements include 20 spaces of parking for this use and design pickup and delivery areas for all persons that's provided for safety access. And again, that's in our ordinance, which is covered under 165-20429. The applicant is working on that as we speak. Furthermore, should the Planning Commission find this use be appropriate, staff would recommend the following conditions be assigned to this conditional use permit. One, all review agency comments should be complied with at all times. Number two, an engineering site plan should be submitted to and approved by Frederick County, and all improvements completed prior to the establishment of this use. And number three, any expansion or change use require a new conditional use permit. Now, I'm going to go back, if I can, to the pictometry, and if I can just bear with me here. This area right here where I have circled is where the 4,000 square foot gym operation will take place. If you look at the picture, the site is unimproved. The site, I think, was built, our records go back to 1978. The applicant has picked it up, has changed it. They will be doing the requirements for our parking and safe egress and ingress. With that, Madam Chair, I'll be happy to answer any questions you or any of the planning commissioners may have on this conditional use permit. For the record, the owner of the property, Mr. and Mrs. Forgel, are here to answer any questions you may have of them. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Chairman? Mr. Oates?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I see up there under condition 2 that has to be completed prior to the establishment of the use, but they're already open, correct?
That is correct.
Are you proposing to shut them down until that's done, or should we maybe look at putting in a time frame instead?
If, obviously, you can, we have done that in the past. You can ask for a timeframe. I have worked with the applicant's engineer and the applicant. I think we can get everything up and ready to go, Mr. Oates. I would almost treat it like we usually do with a violation. We have a CUP comes in front of you had before. Again, if you feel that that would be appropriate, then we could add that condition with no.
I was just thinking the last meeting, we had the issue with the drain field, and basically gave them a time frame to get it complete, and then they could start their business. However, in this case, they're already open.
That's, yeah, your prerogative.
Okay.
Anyone else for Mr. Chairman?
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, could you, you're talking about we're going to be putting requiring 20 parking spaces, correct?
That's correct.
State, VDOT entrance, the whole, when we do a site plan, it's going to come through with that
It'll be-
criteria?
That's a good question, Mr. Kenny. Yes, it's going to go through our review agencies. Currently, the entrance, and I don't want to speak for VDOT, we'll see that. You see on their on the application for the CUP, as we normally do with a site plan that comes through, it goes through the agencies again. Currently, the entrance that they have on there, there's very minimal impacts. They should be fine there. The idea of the site plan is to make sure that the parking and the drop-off area and the handicap is addressed. And that's what we're looking at. And just for one more, and not to keep moving on, the 20 spaces we do by square footage for an indoor rec use. And that's where we came up with the kind of 20 spaces for that 4,000 square feet.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Dunlap.
It's noted that the 24-hour facility will be staffed at all times as well.
I'm going to let the applicant answer that, Mr. Dunlap.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would the applicant like to address us? If so, please come forward. Please come. If you
But to your question, would it be staffed? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
anyone else? If you'd like to speak with us, because we'd like to record you for the public.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, we're happy to be here tonight and looking forward to, complying with all the recommendations of the planners. We've been working closely with them for the last several months, and we originally opened it up for our employees, and that's what we're using it for. And our intent is to start a business there and or lease it to another business, and so it'll continue as a gym in that facility.
Would you give us your name, please?
I'm Robert J. Frogel, and I'm one of the owners of Virginia Preferred Properties.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Anyone? A question?
Ms. Frogel, are you using the rest of the building currently also?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so it's not a totally vacant building. You're just sectioned off 4,000.
Yes.
Where that first 15,000 is proposed, and you're just using 4,000. You won't see a need to expand that 4,000, so that'll,
It's possible in the future, but I don't think so. We're using it, we acquired that property, I think, a year and a half ago. We're primarily using it for our millwork facility, Annandale Millwork and Allied Systems. We are owning the adjacent properties and using it for our truss manufacturing, our millwork manufacturing. We bought it primarily for expansion of our business, and we're utilizing the entire building now, and we thought it would be a nice thing to put in a gym for our employees, but then the other idea came up about, opening up as a business. So,
Good. Anyone else?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Mr. Frogel, if you're possibly thinking of doing it for a business, are you going to try to have all the parking spaces and everything in before you decide to rent it out for a business? Understanding that you got employees using it now.
I think we certainly can do that. Yeah, we want to do that as quickly as possible. The area is already paved. It was paved when we purchased it, so it really won't take much to get that done, so I would say the answer is yes.
Okay, all right. Good.
Anyone else for Mr. Frogay? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak to us regarding this conditional use permit? Anyone at all? Well, we will close the public hearing.
I have one more question.
Surely.
And I would probably be for Mr. Sharon. Conditional use permit, this is for only 4,000 square feet.
That's correct.
So if they want to expand, they are back before us again with another conditional use permit, or,
Yeah, they would amend their conditional use permit, that is correct.
okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I'm sorry. Okay, well, I think we need to make some conversation or take some action.
Madam Chair, I think I can support this, but I'd like to see a time limit put on the improvements that need to be made, the site plan approval, and I'd recommend 6 months.
6 months? And that would be item 2?
Yes.
Yeah, I would concur, instead of saying prior to establishment of use, just within 6 months. That way, they can continue their use without being shut down.
Okay. Do you understand that, Mr. Frogay? Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam Chair, I move to approve CUP number 05-17.
Second.
Second.
Bone, yes?
Dunlap, yes.
Triplett, yes.
Kenny, yes.
Molden, yes. Votes yes.
Klein, yes.
Manuel, yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
Marston, yes.
Unger, yes.
And the chair votes yes. This will go to the Board of Supervisors on the 10th of May. Thank you. Our next item is also a public hearing item. It's conditional use permit 06-17 for Thomas E. Jeffries for an indoor commercial recreation softball training facility. The property is located at 291 Independence Drive, Winchester, and is identified by property identification number 64-11-16 in the Shawnee Magisterial District. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Again, this is the indoor rec use. The land use is currently a warehouse, and the property is zoned M1. It is surrounded by M1 property. The uses of the surrounding properties are a construction company, an office, airport, and warehousing. If I could turn your attention to the map on your left, it's also in the Westview Industrial Park. This is of course, the zoning map. This is the aerial photograph of where the property is located. This is the property where the operation will take place. And I'll come back again to the pictometry to show you the buildings and where we're at with the parking on this application. Again, the zoning ordinance allows this in our M1 district, again with CUP. However, this proposed softball training facility would take place in the 6,000 square foot building, and the property has an approved site plan that meets the requirements of a safe pick up and drop off, because it does have the, as you can see, the sidewalk and things of that nature when I come back to the pictometry. Furthermore, the property only has 17 parking spaces. The commercial indoor rec use will require a total of 30 parking spaces based on the square footage of the building. Again, that's how the zoning ordinance looks at stuff with your square footage in indoor rec. The applicant has engaged with the adjoining property owner to execute a shared parking agreement. This agreement allows for the use of 16 parking spaces and will allow the applicant to meet our parking requirements. This is a picture where we're going to talk where the shared parking is going to come into play. And what we have here, this is the building back here that we're talking about is where the applicant is going to be using the softball training facility. This is where the shared parking, they are adjoining. The parking space, here's where the spaces are for the use that the applicant is proposing. What happens with a shared parking agreement, just to give a little history with that, the applicant has talked to the owner of this property and the hours of operation that he wants to use these parking spaces. What the county requires the two property owners to enter an agreement, sort of a lease agreement, if you will, is recorded. The zoning administrator reviews it for safe ingress, egress, make sure the hours of operation enough for parking. The staff has looked at that. It does meet our parking requirements. What the applicant will do, with the owner of that property, they'll end up with a joint thing, get it notarized, and it's recorded over in the courthouse. So it stays for this use as that, so they can use it. You have never had a parking agreement come before you. We have a few in the county of Frederick that we use. It's more of a staff type issue. But part of this conditional use permit, that's what I'm going to make it, where you're going to see the conditions as we go to it, is going to be that parking agreement is in place for the use. However, as you see, it's a softball facility. It may be appropriate to consider that the planning commission or the board, the other uses that could be permitted with this CUP approval, and in the case that alter use or with a familiar amount of use would want to operate in this facility. This is the case, an additional condition may be added. What staff is saying is, okay, it's a softball facility now. If you're comfortable with that as a commercial indoor rack, I said these are the first two we've had, as long as they're meeting or using that building that I pointed out, if another indoor rec wanted to go in there, let's say the Horseshoe Club or the Dog Kennel Club, it would still have to meet the parking requirements. However, they would have to get a new shared parking agreement because it was a new owner. So that's just why if you want to put that condition in, we can for a different use, or keep it just as it is a commercial indoor rec in the M1 with the CUP. Furthermore, should the planning commission find this use to be appropriate, staff will recommend these following conditions be assigned. All review agency comments shall be complied with at all times. Number two, a shared parking agreement shall be submitted to and approved by Frederick County prior to the use of this property as an indoor recreation facility. And I think in your agenda, you've seen, I believe the neighbor, C.W. Wright, has already agreed to work with Mr. Jeffries on that. It's just getting the final agreement through staff to get it recorded. So that has already happened. It hasn't been recorded, but the agreement is already it's in place. And number three, any expansion or change of use will require a new conditional use permit. For the record, Mr. Thomas Jeffries is here representing this application, and I'll answer any questions that you may have on this indoor recreation use. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mullin.
Mr. Chairman, in terms of the parking agreement, you'd mentioned safe ingress and egress, and so obviously looking at it, there aren't any pedestrian facilities, so I don't know to what extent you and the property owner applicant have discussed, safe movement between properties.
Up until now, we haven't, but there's no sidewalk, as you know, in our M1 zoning district. This is an older one, it didn't have it. However, through the shared parking agreement, looking at that driveway, Mr. Moan, we're probably going to, we'll work out the applicant. I don't want to surprise Mr. Jeffries because that is a question that has come to mind. So maybe put down some gravel to show here's where the safe egress. There is enough room on each side of that driveway where these shared properties to happen. We can do that through the shared parking agreement. Also some signage too, maybe that he'll be responsible for. We can address that through that agreement.
Along with what Chris is asking, how far is it from point A to point B?
It's probably about, from the farthest parking space at Mr. Wright's facility, and I'm just guessing, probably 15 to 2,000 yards.
Okay.
Mr. Oates?
You can help me out, Mr. Yates, I'm just guessing.
I'd say you're probably looking more about 600 or 700 feet.
Yeah. A long way.
1,500 yards, not quite.
CW right to my building, it might be 150,
Yeah.
200.
That's more like it, yeah.
I stand corrected, I apologize for my ignorance. But the safety, all kidding aside, the safe egress and ingress, we can address through that agreement. Like I said, this applicant, we have a site plan in place right now that identifies the parking.
Mr. Oates? And then Mr. Unger.
Mr. Chairman, is this another case where the business is already operating, correct?
Yeah, actually, yes, Mr. Oates, that's a good question. This actually came from a zoning complaint. And Mr. Jeffries got, and I'm not getting into the history of what the case was, basically, as we were working through this ordinance, they were already operating. Mr. Jeffries took over the facility as this was coming through. Mr. Jeffries, and I'll let him explain more what he's done interior to the building itself, has done some work in there. So yes, this came off a zoning complaint. The way to clear the zoning complaint up would be through the CUP process. And if the CUP should fall by the wayside, we have to move forward to court. We're in court as we speak.
Well, again, we have under number 2 that it has to be done prior to use of the property. Since they're already under use, it'd probably be better to have another time frame in there rather than
I've been back there, I know.
shutting him down until
I don't think you can get
everything's
those
met.
parking spots in there.
If that's what the commission wants to do, sir, we can definitely do that. I think we can work that out, because
Well, it's gonna be at
just as the
night.
other applicant has, Mr. Jeffries has already worked with Mr. Wright. We've got signed stuff, so yes, we can get it done in a reasonable time, I believe.
Thank you.
Was there an hours of, I'm sorry, was there hours of operation?
I'm going to let him explain it. We did not put any hours of operation on there, where the gym was 24, because he does instructional. I'm going to let him explain what he may or may not want on that, and that's why we did not do that, Mr. Kenny.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I didn't realize it didn't have a conditional use permit, but I was in there a year or two ago, taking a young girl in there, I guess, for softball, and I will say this, most of that is, or a lot of that is drop-off anyway, so parking, I didn't see a problem at all with parking in there, even though it's not enough. And as far as somebody getting hurt from that one parking lot to the other, very little traffic right there, so I can't see that as being a problem at all. But, I mean, it was a good thing. I thought it was very nice.
Any other comments?
The only issue I see, and I've been involved with some shared parking agreements before, years ago in the city, is when we're talking about pedestrian and the time of hours is at night. Is this going to be open at night? Is it going to be a lit walkway? Those type of things. That's my biggest consternation with a lot, what I'm seeing right now. I don't mind shared parking agreements because they work. But getting the people, I'm familiar with that area out there because I've built buildings in that area, is at night. If they're in there practicing in that, is this pedestrian access way going to be a lit walkway? Those type of things.
Right now, no.
Okay.
Because right now, you're correct, and I know you had the building across from Mr. Jeffries is operating. You're well aware that we don't have a lighting requirement for streetlights or things like that in our M1 zoning district. However, as we go into the hours of operation, things of that nature, I'm going to let Mr. Jeffries explain what his business plan is to you all, and if we can definitely put additional conditions if we feel appropriate, or you feel appropriate, excuse me.
I want to make sure I understand. This is a recorded deed of easement, is that correct? So it couldn't be rescinded, for example?
And you're talking about the parking requirement?
Parking cross easement?
It's a
Okay.
contract between the two. Now, if they have a falling out or someone else, it goes away, and then the CUP would go away.
Okay.
If that's what you're
All
asking,
right.
sir.
Mr. Jeffries, would you like to speak with us? If you'll give us your name and
My name is Thomas E. Jeffries. I go by my middle name, Eddie. And I moved to Frederick County 10 years ago. Daughter started playing Little League. And I just couldn't, the lack of coaching, the lack of facility. I'm watching all these kids go over the mountain to play travel ball. And what I'm trying to do is get our kids the same opportunity in Frederick County that the kids in Warren County have, Loudoun County, and everything. So that's why I started this facility. When this facility came up to me, I jumped on it because this was a perfect situation for me. I was running one out of Winchester City. I didn't realize all the zoning stuff, the CUP stuff when I did it. I was naive. But I've done everything the county's asked me to do. And as far as the parking permit, and Mr. Kinney was interested in, C.W. Wright is a construction company. They're closed every Friday. They work no weekends, and they're out of there by 4 o'clock. We don't even open till 4 o'clock. We open at 4 to 10. Now, that's during the school year, and these are all school-age girls from the ages of 6 to 14, and some high school kids are coming in, too. I've ceased all my membership sales since all this happened. And basically, we sell memberships, and the kids will come in, and they'll have a batting cage they can train in. They can take lessons. We've got the Sharando coach, Millbrook's coach. All these people are interested in, really building a softball program. And basically, I can answer any questions you might have.
You answered mine, Mr. Jeffries.
Oh, I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but as far as the lighting,
Yeah.
I've been in the contractor business, and I will be willing to put some lights along the walk. If you saw that picture, the buildings are 60 foot wide. So that should give you an idea, 60 foot, 30 yards through there. It might be 100 yards from parking space to parking space, but I can get some lighting down one side of the drive that would give adequate vision for all the kids.
Okay. That would be my biggest concern, was that your hours of operations at night, like it's out.
Absolutely. Now,
And then you're having people walking those roads, and there's not much traffic there, but it is dark and can be, anything can
Absolutely.
happen there.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Question for Mr. Jeffries? Seeing none? Thank you, sir. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being with us. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this conditional use permit? Anyone? We'll close the public hearing. Any comments, any thoughts?
Well, I can support this. I can support the broader definition of indoor recreation. I'd be happy to hear any other comments if anybody else is concerned. I would like to see some sort of building-mounted lights for nighttime operations.
Anyone else?
I would just agree with, what Paige has said, and also Kevin, that, if the applicant is willing, to provide those improvements for lighting for safety purposes, I think that's a positive thing. And I certainly support the use. So I think that could work well.
The buildings are lit, they have lights in the building, just not on the egress to the.
Okay. And I think I'd like to suggest a time frame again of 6 months to have the site improvements completed.
Would you agree with that? Okay, thank you. Everybody okay?
Okay.
All right, Mr. Unger?
Unger, yes.
I move for approval of CUP number 06-17.
Second. Now I'll go yes.
Marston, yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
Manuel, yes.
Klein, yes.
Votes yes.
Open, yes. Kenny, yes.
Triplett, yes.
Dunlap, yes.
Moan, yes.
And the chair votes yes. This will go also to the Board of Supervisors on the 10th of May. Thank you. We seem to be at the end of our agenda. I will share with you that we will meet on the first meeting in May. I believe it's May the 3rd. Anything else for the good of the cause?
Move for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Oh, want to tell you, I spoke with Roger Thomas, and he's back on the other leg. And so we'll have the whole crew back in here for a little bit.
Good. Good to know.
Yes, it is.